Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of TA Therapy Ain't Just White. Today, we are going to delve into our experiences during our first year of TA training and share some of the key learnings and stuff that we've come across that perhaps weren't that visible when we started. So I'm Mike. I'm just starting year 2 and clinical practice and placement as well. I'm really enjoying at the moment kind of bringing TA to life in the real world. And I'm joined by my full gaggle of co-hosts today. I'll let you guys introduce yourself. That was Robin there, a little woo. You go through, Robin.
I'm Robin. We're all in the same year group. So I'm year 2. Working, training, and I'm trying to find my therapeutic niche in year 2. So
great. Okay, I'm Wendy. I'm in 1 year deep in my second year, and I'm still loving it.
And hi, I'm Craig. I do still exist. It's been a while. But yeah,
we missed you, Craig.
It's good to be back. Been trying to just juggle life and year 2. Yeah, but you know what, guys, it's exciting. It feels like we're actually now in like you said, Wendy, knees deep, and placement, work, life, just juggling all of it. Well, I wouldn't have it any other way. This is forming actually who we're going to become who I'm becoming as a therapist, as a psychotherapist. So yeah, it's good to be back. Really missed you guys.
Excellent. We missed you too. Right, so yeah, today we are lifting the lid on the first year of TA training from our perspective. Those kind of lightbulb moments or the meltdowns and things that kind of came from left field and broadsided us, and just a little bit, I suppose, around how we keep showing up and what we've learned from those, and hopefully, other first year students or potentially people thinking of entering into, any kind of, therapy course. There's little nuggets, hopefully, that you'll take away and just go, oh yeah, no, I remember the guys talking about that on the podcast. It's this is a thing. I'm not alone in this. That's all good. So, that's where we are today. I tell you what, let's crack on after that. So, just a general question, I suppose, really to get us going. What did you expect year 1 to be like, and how did it compare?
I don't know. I suppose I've been wanting to be on the schools for such a long time, and so I didn't really think about the experience of training. I suppose I just thought I'll go to university and I'll emerge a fully functioning therapist. So I wasn't expecting the level of personal development. I think that was the biggest thing. There's a lot. It's almost that goes parallel to the academic learning, and you can't in this profession have the one without the other. I wasn't expecting to have such almost an intimate experience with 20 odd people that I've never met before, which I'll then be seeing on a regular basis for 4 years. And there's a level of intimacy you achieve with your colleagues that's different from any other relationship you'll ever experience in your life, whether it's friendship, romantic, siblings, parents. It's just on another level. So that was quite a lot exciting, because it's a new way of relating to people. Yeah.
Pretty cool. You know what? I'll jump in on the back of that. I think for me, it hit me when I came into it, and I realized I was actually like the youngest in the whole cohort, and I'm thinking, wait, what? This is insane. I'm there, like the baby of the group, and I'm thinking, I'm a grown man here. What's going on?
For clarity, Craig is 75.
But his inner child is...
that's the one. The free child always comes out.
Yes.
How old are you, Craig? You're about 30ish, yeah?
Yeah, 31. 31. So I just literally had turned 31 when we started last year. But you know, with what I do background wise and work, I think I already have been exposed to building therapeutic alliances and being able to just build and do relational work with people. So obviously background wise, being able to work in residential settings with young adults that are autistic, learning disability and mental health, that kind of really like built my understanding of why I wanted to become a therapist, because I was like, the help that I was given as a registered manager, I was like, this is not enough. There more can be done to get to the root, to get to understanding people, understanding behaviors, communications, you know, all the trauma enforced care. So when I now came and stepped into like first year and we're now studying, it was really interesting because for me, I'm really a practical learner. So the things that I had been learning while actually on the floor as a registered manager or a carer, I was starting to see the theory behind it all coming alive. So there's times I'll be sitting there in workshop, I'm like, whoa, wait, I've seen this happen. Like this is real. I see. So, and it's crazy because I'm being able to connect the dots because of the lived experiences, but being able now to put names and being able to name actually the experience that you didn't know what that was. But when the theory now of actually, when we're now looking at it as a TA with giving the TA language, I'm like, oh wow, this is it. So I didn't come into first year with an expectation. It was just like, actually, you know what? Let me go, because I sensed that this was the right decision for me because I needed to be able to do more. But I just didn't realize the door that it actually opened to the excitement, you know, meeting people. I still think this blows my mind. And I don't know about you guys. From day one, we were like huggy and hugging. It was just something unique. And we just met each other for the first time. And I remember asking myself before, I was like, is this because this is TA? Is this what the community is like? Or is this just us as a group? What is it that's going on? So I'm still on a quest to actually find out what this is. But it's incredible. It's been an incredible journey, just reflecting back on not having an expectation of what this was going to be, but then being able to actually live in the experience of this is where we are now.
I probably had a bit of a different experience because I just come off of a 2-year systemic social work training, and I just qualified, and as a result of finishing my year, writing my portfolio, the conclusion was I need to quit, not continue this journey because I need to go and be a therapist, because none of it made any sense. And the only thing that does make sense is about relationship. And so that's how I ended up on the course, along with, I think, some other things that I'd already mentioned previously about coming off the back of Black Lives Matter, Me Too, political also witnessed bereavement. And so that was like, if not now, when? And so I was always questioning, why am I here? Is this where I'm supposed to be? Or is this part of my script? So that was like a big thing in the back of my head. I think someone mentioned to me, like, Wendy, you're always coming up with these metaphors. And they said, I remember your train metaphor from that very first opening. That I felt like I was on a train and I knew this was the journey, but I wasn't really sure what stations I had to stop off at. I think it was something like that I talked about. But I always knew this was the journey I needed to be, but I wasn't sure I was at the right place because I was already aware that I'd already done all this systemic training and I knew culture is important. So I looked at these people in this group and I was like, I don't know whether any of those people are on board on my train with me. I don't know, but I'm going to be brave enough to put it out there. And I think I did, like in the first session. and I'm just going to see. Maybe they're going to come with me or maybe they're not. And if they don't come with me, then I'm going to have to get off at the station and go on another train somewhere else on a different therapeutic journey. So very curious. I was interested. I don't think I talked to any of you guys for the longest time. I only connected with Robin midway through at the conference, and then after that, and that was quite a long way into our journey. So I felt a little bit like, I'm not sure about these people. I've only just come back to England. I don't know if people in England talk about race and diversity. I don't know if people here talk about culture. I know it's to me, but I don't know. And I didn't hear anybody or see anybody talk about it in the sessions. And then I think we had one where we did talk about it and everyone got a little bit uncomfortable. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. And then I had to go talk to one of the facilitators of the program and check in with her and like, does TA deal with culture? Does it not? Am I in the right place? And she said, just keep going, keep on the train, because the stuff is going to come, the stuff that you're looking for is going to come like year 2. And then she directed me to some literature and various books and things. But I'm very happy I'm on the train, and I do think this is the right place to be.
So good. As a steam train.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. It definitely feels like a steam train. It's going kind of slow, but it's getting there. It's getting there.
Love your metaphors. Absolutely love your metaphors. That's brilliant. I suppose for me, I didn't really know what to expect. I'd not been in education for the longest time. So, I'd come to TA as like my second career, really. So from like corporate background, all that kind of stuff. So I didn't know what to expect coming back into education at all. And in my head, it was like, when I was at university, however many kind of years ago, and it is, but it isn't. And it's, I suppose, to your point, Robin, it's very kind of experiential, and it's, I suppose, the amount of soul searching and personal growth I wasn't prepared for. I went into this thinking it's an academic thing. I'm learning theory, I'm learning process, and that kind of stuff, and I'd not considered the questions it would ask of me to go through this course and to connect with people and to look inside and outside as well, and that's as much, if not more, of the course than the theory is, and the practical tools and skills and things like that. And yeah, I think it's really important that we kind of share some of our thoughts and experiences, not just the celebrated milestones, but the things that have been uncomfortable and the things that have been, surprising and brought discomfort and that kind of stuff as we've gone through. But certainly for me, it was, I was expecting a bit of a lecture theatre, desks, that kind of thing. No, it was much more comfy chairs, bean bags. Let's connect. And I wasn't expecting that as we went through. But I'm so glad that's part of it. That's the richest thing to come from the whole process. That caught me off guard, and I definitely kind of wobbled in the first few months as to, can I do this? Because it's so out of my comfort zone. It's some of that stuff. But I'm so glad I stuck with it. So glad that we kind of connected here and with other people on the course and the bonds that you build and stuff. It's immense. But it's a lot, but it's immense.
I think that I think what you just said about the uncomfortable, I think that's really important and something that might be surprising for a lot of people, and just getting used to sitting in that space. And it's okay to sit there, like that's important. It's important to sit in that place, because realistically that's where a lot of our clients are going to be sitting. So I think that's a really good point there, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to be uncomfortable going through this course. There's going to be points of discomfort throughout the first year and beyond in your training. You know, there's going to be points getting to grips with theory and, you know, kind of coming back into education, or maybe it is being vulnerable and sharing bits of yourself, you know, bits that are kind of hidden from you or normally hidden from others, and all those kind of things. And but maybe even it's the skills practice, or kind of, you know, group process and these new kind of things. And even outside of the course, you know, personal therapy and, you know, supervision and actually in placement and your own growth, it's all outside of your comfort zone. I think there was a bit where we were talking in can't remember who it was with now, but it was talking about your kind of your growing edges. And actually, it's those very kind of edges of things, and they're the bits where your growth comes. And I just kind of imagine the little kind of tendrils coming out and the new shoots and the growth coming from these kind of uncomfortable edges, but it kind of grows and it heals and all that kind of stuff. And it's all good. That's, you know, that's kind of where the work is, I suppose, with this stuff, isn't it? That discomfort. Yeah, it's, I don't know. Have you guys got any kind of thoughts and examples around that?
I think for me, I didn't realize about the therapy. I have never really been in therapy. I've briefly been in therapy, but that's a lot. So I've spoke to people from some other courses, and the requirements are different. So our requirements is, you know, you have to be in personal therapy. So you're not only dealing with everything that's going on in the course, you've got your personal therapy, and of course that's going to bring up stuff. So you've also got to do with that in your first year as well. So I think that's something I probably read about, but I didn't really understand the impact of that, what it would bring up, and that's something that you have to commit to. Perhaps that's something I would have been good to have you know, thought more about that, I think, going into it, and the costs of that as well, but also just the emotional toil that you just don't know what therapy is going to bring up for you.
No, it's interesting, isn't it, that we are required to go into therapy, but I suppose for our clients, one of the things that we check in is actually, are they ready? Do they want to be in therapy? So we're kind of
good point. Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, we need to deal with our own stuff. You don't want to be sat there with somebody and they mention something and you just go, oh, they're talking about me, that's me, and you're crumbling there. So yeah, I mean, I get it, but it's, I totally see what you're saying there.
I was going to say, for me, I remember just getting, especially in the first few workshops that we had, just the sense of, all right, this is a ride, and I'm going to have to learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable parts, because this was now, I think the best way to explain it is, it was like I was being exposed when I looked internally, and when I, especially going through therapy, and, you know, having to go through therapy and chatting with my therapist, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, these are the things that are going on. And it's honestly, it was like a point of going through just like, whoa, why do I think like that? Why is this happening? Actually, what is the root of this? And I don't think I have ever done a lot of internal looking inwards ever until actually getting into therapy and getting into the nitty-gritty stuff of what it is to actually become a psychotherapist. Because I remember, you know, one of our facilitators saying, you have to have gone through it to be able to actually help and just facilitate for your clients. You have to have gone on that journey yourself. So I think it's just, when I now think about it, I'm like, what an incredible opportunity, because I don't think there's any other time in life I would have sat there and actually went, you know what, I'm going to start going into therapy, because of my own understanding of what it means to go into therapy, quote unquote, you know, and the stigma that came with it. But actually, I now sit here, I'm like, I say it to anyone, like, whether it's friends, whether it's family, I'm like, listen, just go to therapy. Go find someone that you can just speak to, that's going to be able to actually Can you think about when else are you ever going to have an hour and where someone is just going to sit there and listen to you undivided,
Yeah.
like you are, and someone is just there to listen to you, to hear you, to be able to journey with you? Where
So
else do
rare.
you get that?
You don't. It's so rare to have that. And
Yeah.
yeah, you go
Mm.
in and you sit
I,
there, you go, I'm fine. I've got nothing. I'm all right. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then you quickly realise you're carrying all this stuff.
Oh my gosh, you,
I,
you literally you reminded me of something. Like, I remember when I first went into my therapy. I remember saying to my therapist, I'm fine. I always, and I used the ego state. I was like, yeah, I'm always functioning in my adult ego state. I don't think there's any. I remember the face that my therapist pulled, and it was like, okay, no worries, we'll see you.
I'll see you next week.
We'll see you.
I think that's something I also say to people now. I'm like, invest in yourself, spend the money, have that. I think sometimes at first I thought it was quite self-indulgent. I never had any therapy before. So for me, the parallel of starting therapy for the first time and then going on the course, it was quite intense. And perhaps in hindsight, if anybody's out there considering, I'm like, start the therapy earlier if you can.
Yeah.
Don't start your course and therapy for the first time. So that was my experience. It's intense. And for me, the discomfort was I was thinking I always have a song for anything, but it's like nothing more than feelings. It's everything's coming up and everything's happening at the same time, having expressions of emotions in a group with people, the sitting in a circle thing. There's nowhere to hide. You can't you're not all facing the same way. No one can see you facing each other. So I was really interested about what you said about that, Mike, where we're not sitting at desk, we're all facing. It's all relational, isn't it? It's all about connecting. And one of my biggest discomforts was crying in public. I was mortified that happened I think it was on my first weekend, and I was like, this is a lot to deal with these people I don't even know, and I'm having all of these emotions. So you're going to go through things that you would normally not experience. And I think it must have taken me about 3 or 4 weekends where I decided, you know what, I'm just going to allow and use the space to experience and experimenting with new ways of being. I have the certain way I behave and the certain way I do things, but I took the weekends and the training as an opportunity to build new relationships, try new behaviors, and see what that was like. And it's incredibly uncomfortable. And I think if you're not prepared to change, this isn't for you guys. It's all about the change. One of my colleagues said to me the other day, we're in the business of change. That's what it's all about, isn't it? I was like, I don't like change. I like things to stay the same. And she's like, we're in the business of change, girl.
Oh, you're spot on, absolutely spot on. There's all sorts that will come up, and yeah, if you don't go with it, then you need to have a look and maybe find something else to invest time and energy and money into. But I remember being in group process and sitting there in the first couple of group process, like you just said, sitting in a circle, everyone looking at each other, and that what's the phrase? Oh yeah, when X happened, or when you said X and I felt Y, and then this, and and that's completely alien, that way of thinking and phrasing things and putting it out there and sharing all that stuff. And those first couple of group processes, I think I probably said 3 words across both sessions. I just couldn't find my voice, and I was just kind of transported back to being a little kid at school, just in those situations where everyone's kind of looking at you, or you're kind of expected to contribute something. Am I going to say the right thing? What should I say? Do I know enough? All that kind of thing. And I was just completely inwardly focused and just really hated it in those, really uncomfortable in all of that. And then just kind of gradually just looking at a different way, or just being able to go, okay, this is it starting to feel safe. It's I can manage the risk, the personal risk that it feels, that uncomfortableness in those spaces to a degree, and I don't have to be perfect, and I can try and be me. I'm not trying to please anybody else. It's just, well, what do I think and feel in these moments, and learning to not overthink it, I suppose, and bring some of that out into those group processes. And yeah, that when you just said there, we're in the business of change, it's like, oh God, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's just trying these little things out here and there, isn't it, as we go.
I think for people who are thinking about doing this kind of course and from a minoritized background, a person of color, I think one of the things that's really important is about safety, because it's very easy for people to say like, oh, we're all safe here, and you think like, okay, well maybe it's safe for you, but how do you know it's safe for me? And just to check in. With your, we've talked before about othered. So I think it's really important for people to keep themselves safe. And I think that's really a key aspect. Don't go where you're not really feeling support and safe. Trust is a huge thing. Use your personal therapy. You don't have to put it all out there. If you feel like you need to keep things back to keep yourself safe, then that's okay too. And that's what your personal therapy is for, because depending on where you study, different organizations are different. You may, for cultural reasons, not that feeling vulnerable could put you in a dangerous situation. So you also have to protect yourself. I think that's important. Like I said, depending on where you study or what type of therapy that you may do. Yeah, I think being safe and trust is important.
And I guess, yeah, even when I think of like my own experience about the discomfort and having lived in what would have been just thinking that, like, so growing up for me, I think one of the things is I was always around white people, essentially, especially when I was at school. Like, my school was predominantly mostly white people, and then my classes, majority most of the time, I'll be the only black person in the room. So it's even coming into workshop now, and coming into placement, I think that was even as a something that was always just at the back of my mind. But actually, wait, hang on a minute. Am I the only black person here? Am I the only black male here? All of these thoughts still come and they ring into your head. And for me, ended up just there's times actually this became a lived experience once again, even within, workshops where we go into small groups and, look around within that small group, end up being the only black person again. So it was having to now actually grapple with these internal thoughts and feelings that are going on that are trying to reinforce a belief system that I have within me. And then actually, because what that then starts doing is actually making me shrink or start making me feel like actually I don't have a place of belonging. But and I guess each group is different and each experience is different for each individual person. But what really helped me with individual therapy and my own therapist was getting a voice again and being able to actually share that with my therapist, and my therapist asking me questions to look internally about, okay, where's that coming from? What message, what parental messages were you receiving, or what injunctions were you receiving that really helped me to get to the root of actually, yes, this might be a pattern that's actually trying to outwork itself. But if I now shrink and not actually take it and don't make a different decision, this could now actually lead me to pulling away in a place in which I actually am now looking and thriving in. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's those kind of difficult things that, sometimes you don't even have the words or the language to explain what's going on, but you can feel it internally.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm like, therapy is a weapon essentially, because it helps you to understand the language it helps you to understand the feelings and just look at it and start questioning because yeah, we guess that's the beauty of it from my experience, especially with the discomfort within first year.
But let's be real, it's really hard. If you're looking for a therapist of color or minoritized therapist, it's not easy, and that's like why this podcast is really important to encourage, you like us to be therapists. Like I think maybe it depends where you live, but I would have to have seen a therapist of color, Black female, in person. That's sort of what I was looking for, who was also TA. So that,
There's a lot of boxes to tick there.
But like really, for somebody who's white, that's not a lot of boxes. That's easy. They can find somebody like that. But if we're scrolling through the list, it's not that easy for us. And especially maybe for if you're looking for Black male psychotherapists, that's not easy, TA or otherwise. So it doesn't mean you can't connect with other therapists, but it might mean that you've got to work a little harder, and you might have that, and whether they will understand everything that you're going through. So it's not saying that you can't work with other people, but that's another layer that you have to go through, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think there's something about what you're saying, Craig, about showing up in the space with all of you. I think sometimes as a person of color, or my experience is sometimes I show up in a space, in a part of me that I think is palatable to who I'm with. And part of this experience is, and we might talk about this later, is my awakening to be all of me in a space. So all the intersectionality that includes, my race, my dual heritage, and it's hard to do that when you're so used to showing up just a part of you. I make a joke that Facebook has recently discovered that I'm a person of color in the algorithm, so I'm getting all sorts of, so I feel like have I been an undercover person of color on Facebook, and only after how many decades of been on Facebook as Facebook realized and changed the content it's showing me. So I find that really fascinating. And I think part of that is me being, like you're saying, Craig, just being all of you in this space. And sometimes that means you're the only one, and it's hard to be the only one of something. It's not an easy, I don't find that easy to be, because you just want to belong.
Yeah, I think that's a common experience, isn't it? Certainly shared one. I think that all resonates with us. Yeah, a definite source of discomfort as we go through. Finding that space, that voice, that comfort to relax and be ourselves.
Within a systemic framework, and I think that there is a structure, like we can't ignore the reality of you may be the only Black psychotherapist on the course, whatever course you may choose. You may be the only person at a conference, so we can't sugarcoat and pretend that those things are not true, but finding a empowering way of dealing with that, or managing that, and being true to your own authenticity the best way you can. And it could shift different times, different moments, depending on what's going on for you.
Yeah, that's so good. That's really good, Wendy.
Should we move on and talk about theories? Yeah, thinking about the birth of TA with Eric Byrne, in the kind of late 50s, 60s, and where TA came from, that's kind of counterculture, North American, even kind of Eurocentric, but kind of white middle class. That was very much its genesis, and I think TA has carried that through in a lot of its thinking processes, a lot of the kind of structures and the cultures and things that come about. And we need to, I think as part of this through the first year, kind of think about actually the theory and the culture around TA has spawned some brilliant stuff. You know, you think about the 4 different fields: psychotherapy, counselling, organisational, educational, and all the different schools of TA, integrative, classical, redecision, and you know, there's what kind of 5, 6 of them. But equally, they're not their theory. It's not gospel, I think, is what I'm trying to say, isn't it? That's the point, and it's our job to kind of question the thinking, to question the models, to move it on through our lived experience, to bring the richness of ourselves into that place. I suppose to the kind of the previous chat there, just, you know, how do we show up? How do we develop TA in a way that actually makes it relevant and inclusive for us and others today? You know, it is our job, I think, to kind of question, to push and to probe this. You know, all the models are useful until they're not, you know, and it's not just like, this is how it is. It's, well, is it how it is? What do we think? What do we feel? You know?
I guess I like the whole concept of when we're now talking about, actually, you know, the theory is not gospel. It's it's theory. So it's actually, when we're now looking at the therapeutic alliance between client and therapist, you're looking at the inquiring, the curiosity, the asking of the questions, and being able to now move through the different, different schools, and being able to try different interventions, and being like, okay, well, how does this resonate with you? And bringing it back to the client, because we can't just go there and then be like, oh, this is it, full stop. Because what is it if it's not? Do you know what I mean? And you really summed it up really well, Mike. Like, that's not what it's about when we're looking at therapy and being able to actually be in a therapeutic relationship and build on therapeutic alliance. It's about being able to actually be relational, being able to now journey with your client, and being able to actually then look to start inquiring, right? One of the things that always really, like, I don't know why it hurts me to a core, in a sense, if you've ever heard someone just saying, oh, well, it's just who I am, it's just is what it is. Because at that point, it just puts a full stop to actually, like, who you are, which is not the case. And I think that's, for me, I really sense that deeply, because I'm like, actually, but that's maybe not who you are. Let's actually inquire, why do you believe that that's who you are? And when you start actually unpicking that, you then start being able to, like, use different theories, different interventions to look at, actually, why is this now a belief system in someone? And then that now actually helps you to be able to get a deeper understanding. So yeah, like, the theory is theory for a reason. It's there to be used, and when you build a therapeutic alliance, it's that inquiring, it's that, and do you call it an experiment? Not really, but it's journeying. It's journeying, and being able to be like, okay, how does this resonate with you? So that way, it's not an experiment, but it's offering out and being like, okay, how does this resonate with you? How does this land with you? And how do you take that? Because now, actually, you are journeying in with someone using the skill sets that you understand as a therapist because of the theory, but allowing the client to understand that as well.
I think it's being able to use different bits in different ways. It's not set in stone that this is what you use, that this is your approach for this, and if the client turns up and says that, or this is what you do, or what you say, actually, it's what works for you as a type of therapist that you want to be in your context with your clients. And that's one of my key takeaways, I think, from the first year, is that there is a fluidity in the theory, in that you can kind of apply it in different ways, but also it is open to interpretation, it is open to challenge and development. And you look at the way that I suppose the consideration of cultural and social impacts on individuals has been incorporated into theory and has been further developed and explained and given structure. None of that was there at the beginning.
Absolutely.
None of that was there. And now we're in a place where people go, well, actually, this doesn't apply to me in my situation. How do I talk about this from my culture? How do I talk about this with my client group? What does that look like? And I really like that about TA, actually, that it is alive in that sense. It's not a dusty thing that's just kind of in textbooks covered in cobwebs. It's got a vibrancy to it that enables you to do that and to move things on. And yeah, but equally, I don't know about you guys, but I found some of that fluidity a bit confusing, or it brings in ambiguity maybe in places that, yeah, such and such said this, or what about this? And it's, well, how do we find a balance maybe between some of this stuff that we're working with? I think for me, the answer is, if you can explain your reasoning in a way that works for you, then that's all good. There is very few right and wrong, black and white answers and applications for stuff.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I think it didn't really come across when we first started that there's a difference. And so if one school of TA doesn't work for you, you try it. Like, Craig, you mentioned like relational. I definitely think I've definitely got at least one foot in that relational TA school. And there's other ones we haven't explored yet. So it's not just like, Mike, you're saying it's dynamic. There is different schools and they are still evolving. There's people setting up new, creating or developing new theories that are more intersectional. Like Victoria Baskerville comes to mind, I think, in TA East in London. So, if it doesn't work, perhaps start your own. I don't know. But it isn't like, even though it does come from the 50s model, it is still evolving, and there is different therapeutic schools. TA is not just one thing.
Absolutely, agree. And there's that intersection between stuff, and even thinking about, I suppose, some of the social political stuff that's going on at the moment, in the UK, well, across the world, with the rise of the far right and things like that, and just, well, how do we think about that as a process, of mindset within TA? How do we kind of integrate that? And you start kind of looking at some of the work around cultural script matrix and stuff. I'm just trying to look it up here actually and see whose it was. I think it was Shivathna and Hiramath, I think. Yes. Just looking at the, that kind of dominant white UK cultural messages around self, and how that in therapy can just be the assumed background. And if you don't bring in the kind of the community messages, subcultural messages, things like that, that actually you start to lose all of that nuance that gives people their perspectives and their difference, whether it's from kind of minority or minoritized cultures and people, or whether actually that's from the wider white majority. Actually, it's very easy, I think, to just go, actually, well, we know what they're about, but that's a huge group of people with different experiences, all these kind of different things coming through. And I feel that TA is starting to give, certainly me, more of a way to think about the really nuanced build up to some of the real life pressures that we are facing.
I think also I've got placements like in women's centers, so it's also like patriarchal society and the messages that women receive in society, how they're treated in society, and that's also important to bring into the therapy room. It's not just the individual's experience, it's how you're treated as a female in society in the here and now,
Right, guys, I'm super mindful of the rich stuff that we talked about and how much we talked about. I know there's so much more on this topic that we could talk on this for hours. I know, absolutely. There's all sorts of stuff around, just being content with the course, and is it right for me, all those kind of things. And I think there's a big conversation about the cost and the impact of this type of course, of doing a key TA course, kind of time, money, relationships, all that kind of stuff. And we will circle back to those. They're such big things that we need to give them the time and space. We'll come back to those in a following episode. So if that's something that you are concerned about, please do tune in again. Have a look at the feed. I'm sure you'll find the episode in there when we come to do it. Just note to self that needs to go on the future episode list. So when you do it. Yes. So you know what? It's the in closing, I suppose this first year is a roller coaster, isn't it? There's so much personal growth. There's learning about your own resilience, self-awareness, connecting, kind of being in the room, facing into challenges. But all that comes with a new understanding, with a new depth, new friends, deeper connections, and certainly a renewed curiosity, I think, into ourselves and into other people and things like that. So I suppose I'm wondering from everybody, just a line or two on, what are your final thoughts? Is it tell you what, if you could say something to yourself on your day one, what would be the thing you'd whisper in your ear as you go through the doors for the first time? Or give us a view of what are you carrying into year two that you've learned from year one?
Okay. I would whisper into my ear. I would give myself permission, I think, to be brave, authentic, take risks, but also keep myself safe. And then I would give myself strokes for my year one and say, you know what, you did a great job and you're where you're supposed to be. So carrying into year two, I'm just more and more curious and excited about my journey. And this podcast is definitely part of that. So thank you to you guys and all the listeners. I'm very, very grateful.
That's really good.
I think I tell myself not to be so afraid and anxious about things. I think I came into mine with a lot of anxiety and anxiousness, and just allowing the process to unfold, not feel like I have an agenda with everything, just experience it. And don't feel I have to read every single thing and understand everything, because at the end of year one, there's so much I didn't understand. But then you just have a moment when it just clicks suddenly. This podcast has helped a lot in that, isn't it? When we've come to look at things we've went over last year. So just allowing myself, my brain will absorb things. Some things won't resonate with me, and that's okay as well. Not everything I learn will be for me, and that's okay. And I think I spent a lot of time in the first year thinking, I don't get it, and going over it so many times. And yeah, I will never get it, or maybe I'll get it later. And just don't read everything that's on the reading list, guys.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think for me, if I was going to say something to my day one self, be curious. I think be curious and ask yourself questions about what's going on internally. I think that, just especially for me, it's generally helped me to be able to start actually discovering myself and who I am, and why I think the way that I think, or behave the way that I behave. I guess, yeah, and that's that part. And even, Robin, I love the part that you talk about, the strokes, being able to give yourself strokes. Like, I could tell myself as well, be gentle to yourself, be gracious to yourself. It's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You don't have to know everything in first year, but you just need to just be curious. I think curiosity is the benchmark, in a sense, for me anyway, being able to just journey with that and being able to question and ask. What would I tell myself for year two? Continue to look internally.
More of the same.
More of the same. That's where most of the answers will come from within.
Deeper and deeper.
Yeah. For me, that kind of whisper in the ear in the first year is there's two things actually. One is, don't worry, you're in a room of like-minded people. Everyone's different, but everyone has chosen to be in that space for possibly for similar but different reasons to yourself. So there is, you're amongst, in many ways, kind of amongst your tribe. And even though we are different, there's that commonality there. And it's one of the few spaces, I think, where I can hand on heart say, actually, I know that everybody has chosen to be here. And that's a really kind of strong bond between people. And I would think I would also whisper in my ear to bring more interesting lunches, because I'm so bored of sandwiches or nipping to the shop. Oh my word. Yeah, think about your lunches. What are you bringing? Just, that's going to fuel
so
you the
important.
day.
Yeah.
Don't think of it the night before. Don't just look in the fridge as you're about to rush out and get in the train or get in the car. Yeah, think about your lunches.
Plan your lunches.
Absolutely.
We've got someone on our course who really does great lunches that she packs, and I just have lunch envy every time I see it.
Yeah, little kind of boxes come out and lots of little things, and it's
like, wow.
I know who you're talking about.
But it's definitely not me.
No.
I'm like a few leftovers and nothing much. So but taking care of yourself, I think that's what you're talking about, Mike, isn't it? Like when you're on this course, you need to take care of yourself. Yeah.
Thank you for reinterpreting my words. That's what I meant all along, obviously. Be kind to yourself, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And you know what, they're going into the second year. I'm taking more confidence to be me. And
like
the growth, more confidence to be me, regardless of the space. So it's kind of where I am. So, right, I hope that has spoken to a few people listening. I hope you've enjoyed the time that you've spent with us. I know we've enjoyed our time together here. I urge you all to continue listening, to continue being curious, and to stay with us on our journey through. Lots more to come. Thank you for your time and dedication and your support for the podcast. It is all worthwhile. It's all much appreciated. So thank you for that. So for this episode of TA Therapy Ain't Just White, I shall say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to TA Therapy Ain't Just White. We hope something in today's episode made you feel seen, curious, or just a little more connected. Whether you're a trainee, a therapist, or just therapy curious, you belong in this space. Join the conversation by following us on socials or dropping us a message. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay grounded, stay curious, and stay you.